Chapter 81 The selection for the outer sect begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Blink. 3 more days have passed, and there are only 2 days left before Zhoutian sect selects its outer disciples. At this time, more than 5,000 people had arrived, including many talented people. However, the attic can only accommodate 3,000 people. Not counting the dozen or so small courtyards, more than 2,000 people have no place to rest. Conflicts often occur near the attic because of this matter, but the steward and deacon never showed up, as if he acquiesced. In fact, among those who have not yet joined the Supreme Immortal sect, as long as they don't cause too much trouble here, the Supreme Immortal sect will generally not interfere. As for Xiao Fan and Xianxia, the deacons intervened because there was too much noise and they even demolished the small courtyard. The area was very lively with competitions and discussions going on. At night, there are even many female cultivators sleeping outside without roof tiles to cover their heads. Many of them are newcomers, and they all know that these more than 10 small courtyards are home to various talented people, but only number 9 courtyard is very unique and eye-catching, because except for the cabin, there are no walls or doors. Many people have drawn attention to this cabin. However, when they heard that there was an evil star living inside and the achievements of this evil star, they all gasped. Although they had no background, being able to fight against Xianxia without losing proved that it was anything but simple. They all gave up the idea one after another. They didn't know who Xiao Fan was, but they had heard of Xianxia's name. They didn't have the confidence to provoke the genius of Ruined City, the 8th level of Qi transformation realm, a ruthless and stable outer disciple. 2 days later, it was the day for the selection of outer disciples. In the early morning, the sky was just getting dark. All those participating in the selection of outer disciples gathered outside and waited. Xiao Fan looked around and saw a dense crowd of almost 10,000 people. These 10,000 people are all descendants of various families in Wuhuangzhou, or they are casual cultivators with good cultivation. Xiao Fan also noticed Li Dong, and noticed that his face was darker than before. When Li Dong discovered Xiao Fan, his eyes seemed to be breathing fire. Damn it, Xiao Fan, just wait for me, I will make you pay the price. Although Jin Kegwa was not given to Xianxia, in the end, he was still given 1,000 spiritual stones as the production fee. This made him very angry. He lost his wife and lost his troops. Xianxia was also there, and except for his entourage, everyone else consciously kept a certain distance from him. The same was true around Li Dong and others. Xiao Fan also noticed that many people were in the same situation, even him. There was no one around him except Zhu Gang. After thinking about it for a while, I figured out the reason. These people must have been afraid, so they didn't get close. In the crowd, Xiao Fan also noticed a woman. There was no one around her. She was dressed in white and had an expressionless face. She gave people a cold feeling that was distant from others, but her facial features were extremely beautiful, like a fairy, and Xiao Fan can feel that this woman is very strong, very strong. Xiao Fan was curious and asked Zhu Gang, "Who is that woman?" Zhu Gang looked in the direction of Xiao Fan's gaze, and then whispered, "This woman's name is Nangong Lingxian. Her cultivation is at the 8th level of the Qi transformation realm. She is a young lady from the Nangong family. It is said that she is the strongest among the people present." Nangong family. Xiao Fan was stunned. He had heard of this family. It was the most famous family in Wuhuang province. Even some small sects did not dare to provoke them easily. It does not belong to any city, but that their family has formed a city of its own, and it also controls many spiritual stone veins. It is one of the top families in Wuhuangzhou. Nangong Lingxian seemed to notice that Xiao Fan had been staring at her. She looked at her coldly, and her cold, disgusted eyes made Xiao Fan stunned. Then he withdrew his gaze and did not continue to wait and see. As everyone knows, at this time, Nangong Lingxian has already labeled Xiao Fan as a womanizer, and he is a very bold and lecherous person. Later, Xiao Fan also noticed several other people, all of whom were popular figures participating in the selection, and he asked Zhu Gang one by one. Zhu Gang was like an encyclopedia. He was very familiar with the identities of these people and gave Xiao Fan answers one by one. He wasn't busy with anything else during this period, and he did quite well in investigating intelligence. An hour passed, the sun has risen. At this time, more than 100 outer disciples wearing blue robes came, as well as 4 deacons and a middle-aged man with a majestic look. The 4 deacons walked behind the middle-aged man, each of them looking respectful. Xiao Fan saw that among the 4 deacons, the deacon who wanted to break his arm was also there. As for the middle-aged man with a majestic look, his eyes stayed on him for a long time. He instinctively felt that this middle-aged man should be the one who helped him speak that day. More than 100 outer disciples in blue robes scattered around, standing side by side, and those with the lowest cultivation level were at the 7th level of Qi transformation realm. After seeing the arrival of the Zhoutian sect, the scene suddenly became silent. Even Nangong Lingxian, Shan Yanghui and other talented people are like this. The middle-aged man looked around, scanning everyone, and seemed to stay on Xiao Fan for a moment longer. Then he said in a deep voice, "I am He Yutang, one of the elders of the outer sect, responsible for the selection of outer sect disciples." He Yutang's voice was loud and resounded in all directions. Hearing the other party's voice, Xiao Fan confirmed that this person was the person who opened his mouth to help him that day. Zhoutian sect conducts a selection every year, and many people come, but there are only 500 people who can enter the sect and become outer disciples each time. Those who are unsuccessful can choose to become handyman disciples and practice within the sect with peace of mind. Just practice and wait, and you will have the opportunity to become an outer disciple in the future. He Yutang's voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by the 10,000 people present. Xiao Fan already knew these things before, but becoming a handyman disciple means being like a servant. The sect will not provide resources for free, and will only distribute them if the corresponding work is completed. The status of the handyman disciples is very low, and they are also the largest in number. It is said that there are hundreds of thousands of them, distributed throughout the Zhoutian sect. Although the handyman disciples are very poor, most of them would rather work as handymen than leave the Kyokusen sect. The Ji Immortal sect is a treasured place, and its aura is much richer than the outside world. One day of cultivation in Zhoutian sect catches up with the outside world in 3 days. There are 3 outer sect tests in Zhoutian sect. The first one tests bone age. He Yutang paused and explained, the younger the bone age, the higher the cultivation level, and the higher the score. Everyone suddenly realized that the items tested by Zhoutian sect's outer sect every year were like this. In other words, most sect forces are similar. Bone age is the age of detection. The younger the age, the greater the potential and room for growth. Cultivation represents strength and realm. Okay, let's divide into 4 groups and let the test begin. Chapter 82 Bone Age Test. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. The 4 deacons looked at each other, then separated and stood in different places. It was very simple to detect bone age. A golden compass appeared in front of each of the 4 deacons. When the compass was activated, a golden mist appeared on it. Unless one's cultivation reached the Xiandan realm or had a treasure, no one could change their bone age. Line up behind and go forward one by one. More than 100 outer disciples began to organize and spoke loudly, but only to ordinary young people. When dealing with people like Nangong Lingxian, Shan Yanghui, and Xiao Fan, they were very polite. In the crowd, Xiao Fan also saw Shenan. This person took 100 spirit stones from Zhu Gang and arranged the number 9 courtyard for them at that time. In fact, when I think about it now, not many people came at that time. And many of the geniuses did not come. Those who arrived also knew that it was easy to enter the courtyard, but it was difficult to defend it later, and they might be beaten. So no one went without some strength, otherwise, the other party would not be able to arrange for the 2 to go there. Shenan seemed to have noticed Xiao Fan's gaze. He lowered his head in shame and dared not look at him. Although Xiao Fan had not yet joined Zhoutian sect, he was already somewhat famous in the waiting area. The fact that He Yutang spoke for Xiao Fan was enough to prove Xiao Fan's worth, not to mention the movement when his cultivation level broke through, and the cross-level battle with Shan Yanghui. All of them revealed Xiao Fan's difference. Even Shenan was thinking whether to find an opportunity to return the spirit stones, fearing that Xiao Fan would retaliate in the future. In fact, Xiao Fan didn't care about these, but thought that the small courtyard with 100 spirit stones was not bad to live in. One by one, he walked forward to check. when a figure stood in front of the golden compass, the golden mist on the compass would change, and finally condensed into a row of numbers, which represented the bone age of the person, that is, the age of the person. Zhoutian sect did not have high age requirements for disciples, and anyone who wanted to join before the age of 30 could do so. Xiao Fan and Zhu Gang stood together, with at least 500 people in front of him. Nangong Lingxian, Shan Yang Hui, and Li Dong did not stand in a long line with him. Li Dong looked back at Xiao Fan from time to time. He was 20 years old this year, but he could reach the 7th level of Qi transformation realm. He was definitely a rare genius. Even Shan Yanghui was 21 years old this year. This was also where he could find some confidence in front of Xiao Fan, at least in his opinion. Xiao Fan should be in his 20s, it was not because of his appearance, but because Xiao Fan's character was too old-fashioned. In his opinion, he could still surpass the other party in a few years. Although it was several hundred meters away from the test site in front, for a cultivator of the 7th level of Qi transformation realm, this distance was nothing, and he could see very clearly. After reaching the Qi transformation realm, although he could not fly into the sky or hide in the ground, or regenerate broken limbs, all his sensory functions were beyond the ordinary. Vision, hearing, strength, etc. were far superior to ordinary people. Soon it was Shan Yanghui's turn. He strode forward. As a child of destiny, he naturally attracted the attention of others. The golden compass glowed, and a faint golden light floated above it, and finally condensed into 2 numbers, 21. There were many surprised voices around. After all, he could reach the 8th level of Qi transformation at the age of 21. He was definitely a genius. Even He Yutong looked at Shan Yanghui for a while longer. Shan Yanghui's face was calm. It was not the first time that he was noticed by such eyes. After Shan Yanghui finished, it was Nangong Lingshuan's turn soon. She was dressed in white, and her icy and beautiful face naturally attracted the attention of everyone around her. Usually, few people dared to stare at her openly. Now this was a good opportunity. Nangong Lingxian walked in front of the golden compass and stood expressionlessly, as if everything around her had nothing to do with her. The golden light emerged and slowly condensed into 2 words, 18. Seeing this number, the surroundings were immediately in an uproar. 18-year-old Qi transformation realm 8th level. And it is said that the strength is the strongest among all the people present. Oh my God, Nangong Lingxian is too evil. She is only 18 years old. 18 years old. She is already in the 8th level of Qi transformation realm. This is an evil. It seems that the first place in the outer sect selection this time is not Nangong Lingxian. Even He Yutong looked at Nangong Lingxian with a bit of praise, which represented his recognition of her. Xiao Fan was also very surprised. He knew that the other party was very strong, but he didn't expect that he would be so strong. 18-year-old Qi transformation realm 8th level, and Xiao Fan noticed that the other party seemed to have reached the 8th level of perfection and could break through to the 9th level. If everything goes well, maybe he can advance to the Tongtian realm before the age of 20. 20-year-old Tongtian realm strongman. It's scary to think about it. Zhu Gang was almost shocked. Li Dong pouted his lips, although he was surprised in his heart, but he showed dissatisfaction on the surface. Soon, it was Li Dong's turn. He turned his head to look at Xiao Fan before the test. Xiao Fan also noticed Li Dong. He also wanted to know how old Li Dong was this year. He was not curious about Li Dong's talent, but just felt that his brain was not very good, to see if he was young and therefore immature. As a member of the Li family, Li Dong is also at the 7th level of Qi transformation realm, and many people pay attention to him. The golden compass glowed, and the golden mist on it slowly condensed, finally turning into 2 large characters, 20. Suddenly there were many people around who were surprised. At the age of 20, he could reach the 7th level of the Qi transformation realm, although not as much as Nangong Lingxian, who stunned everyone, but he is definitely a genius. Li Dong was very satisfied with the surprised look of the people around him. While feeling secretly happy, he did not forget to provoke Xiao Fan with his vicious eyes. It seems that he wants to say, I am still young, you can wait and see in a few years. Naturally, Xiao Fan would not guess what the other party meant. Just curious, the other person is already 20 years old. Why are you so clueless? Xiao Fan and Li Dong had met only a few times, and this was only the 3rd time. However, from what Li Dong said when he met him for the first time, he even questioned it loudly the second time, knowing that an expert was there. Through these 2 points, Xiao Fan concluded that Li Dong's mind must not be bright. The team continued to move forward, and half an hour later, it was Xiao Fan's turn. Xiao Fan was also the focus of attention among the crowd for the selection of outer disciples. The name of Evil Star is not for nothing, and his record is also quite amazing, with Shan Yanghui undefeated in a duel. The sound caused by the breakthrough in cultivation was even more spectacular. Under everyone's attention, Xiao Fan walked step by step to the golden compass. The eyes of Li Dong with a sneer on his face, Shan Yanghui with a solemn expression, and Nangong Lingxian with a cold expression were all focused on Xiao Fan. The deacon in charge of using the compass began to activate it, and the golden light on it emerged. Xiao Fan felt that a spiritual consciousness swam away from him for a moment, and then withdrew. The golden mist slowly condensed into 2 golden characters. 1-9. Chapter 83. The cultivation test is over. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What, this evil star is only 19 years old. Oh my god, I never thought that this evil star is only 19 years old and is so powerful. He must have just broken through to the 7th level of the Qi transformation realm a few days ago. With such talent, no wonder Li Dong is no match for him. The people discussing around him all spoke up, and it was indeed amazing that Xiao Fan tested out the talent of a 19-year-old. In terms of age and cultivation level alone, he is the only person who is worse than Nangong Lingxian. This is impossible. Li Dong's face was full of disbelief. He did not expect that Xiao Fan would be younger than him, and as a result, the 3rd young master of the Li family would be inferior to him. How could he accept such a thing? But even if you don't accept it, there is nothing you can do. Xiao Fan turned around and glanced at Li Dong. He couldn't figure out what the other person's dying expression was for. Does his age have anything to do with him? He Yutong looked at Xiao Fan with eyes full of praise. He could achieve his current strength and realm at the age of less than 20. This boy has a bright future. The team continued, and another 3 hours passed, and everyone was finished with the first round of testing. He Yutong stood on a high place, looked around at everyone, and slowly said, the first bone age test has ended, and the second cultivation test has begun. The cultivation tests were similar to the ones just now, and they were also conducted in a queue. The instrument being tested this time was no longer a golden compass, but a green and clear orb, as big as a human head. The examiners put their hands on the green orbs one after another, almost the same as before, except this time they condensed into green mist characters. The characters slowly appeared, and if they didn't appear, a line of green energy condensed, which represented the strength of the first level of the Qi transformation realm. The team is still so long, but Li Dong is much more honest than before. He knows Xiao Fan's realm better than anyone else. We have reached the 7th level of the Qi transformation realm. In fact, most people know each other pretty much. Some of the powerful family members have many people who know their level of cultivation. I originally thought that there would be no disturbance in this round of cultivation test, at least I wouldn't be as surprised as before, but everyone was wrong. Nangong Lingxian slowly walked forward, stretched out her slender fingers and placed them on the green orb. The orb immediately condensed into green mist. Together, 2 ways, 3 ways, 8 ways, when everyone thought that her cultivation was at the 8th level of the Qi transformation realm. The green mist on the orb increased 9 ways. There were gasps of air all around, and it suddenly became noisy. Nangong Lingxian turned into the 9th level of Qi. Oh my god, wasn't she at the 8th level of the Qi transformation realm before? When did she break through? It's so scary. She is the number 1 outer disciple in this class. Even Shan Yanghui and the geniuses of the big families frowned. They had never seen Nangong Lingxuan's specific strength, but they had heard that this woman was not easy to mess with. If the opponent had cultivated to the 8th level of the Qi transformation realm before, most people didn't think anything of it, but it was different when he became the 9th level of the Qi transformation realm. This means that the other party is infinitely close to the heaven-bearing realm. Among them, even Xiao Fan was surprised. This woman was indeed extraordinary and had reached the 9th level of Qi transformation realm. In the next test, Xiao Fan's test result was at the 7th level of Qi transformation realm. No one around him was surprised, and there was no noise like before. The test results of Shan Yanghui and Li Dong were all the same as before. One was at the 8th level of Qi Transformation Realm, and the other was at the 7th level of Qi Transformation Realm. Zhu Gang's cultivation test result was also at the 5th level of the Qi Transformation Realm. Even so, his cultivation was among the best among those who participated in the selection. After all, not all of them are monsters like Xiao Fan and others. However, Nangong Lingxian is not the only surprising thing. In the subsequent test, Chen Feixing, a genius of the Chen family in Wangzhou, had previously claimed that his cultivation was at the 7th level of the Qi Transformation Realm. But this time he was also tested at the 8th level of the Qi Transformation Realm. It caused a commotion all around, and the one with the ugliest face was Shan Yanghui. He was originally recognized as the second best, but another 8th level Qi Transformation Realm appeared. The Chen family where Chen Feixing belongs is very powerful and is not weaker than the Shan family and the Li family. Xiao Fan had been paying attention to this person for a long time because he saw an old acquaintance beside him, Chen Shi. He also specifically asked Zhu Gang if he knew any information about this person. However, Zhu Gang knew very little information. He only knew that after this person arrived, he stayed in the number 4 courtyard and never went out. He only brought one person with him. In subsequent tests, there were many previously unknown people who showed very high levels of strength at this level of cultivation, but they were all a bit older. There are also some family members who have hidden their cultivation, but there are only 2 whose cultivation exceeds the 8th level of Qi Transformation Realm, and most of the others are around the 7th level of Qi Transformation Realm. In Xiao Fan's eyes, among the people present, the only ones who could pose a threat to him were Nangong Lingxian and Chen Feixing, the 8th level of Qi Transformation. He is not afraid at all. Time was running out, and by the time everyone had finished testing, it was already afternoon. He Yutong looked at the test results, nodded slightly, and then said loudly to everyone around him, "Today's test is over. Next, everyone will be given a score based on their age and cultivation. The actual test will begin tomorrow." After saying that, He Yutong turned around and left, leaving everyone staring. Most people don't know what this actual combat test is about. What do the previous bone age and cultivation tests, the scores given, and the subsequent multiple practical tests mean? Xiao Fan was also curious and asked Zhu Gang, "Do you know what the actual combat test means?" Zhu Gang nodded. It is estimated that as in previous years, each person will be given a score based on his cultivation and bone age. The higher the score, the greater the chance that this person will become an outer disciple. But the third test of strength is to divide everyone into groups and then let everyone take the challenge. People with low cultivation and older bones will have very low scores. However, if they succeed in this challenge, they can get extra points. If they can win consecutively, even if their cultivation is not enough, people with older bones will have the opportunity to become outer disciples. Little fat Zhu Gang gave Xiao Fan a brief explanation. After understanding this, Xiao Fan nodded, finally understanding what this actual combat test was about. Cultivation level and bone age can only determine the talent of a person. Unless the talent is particularly evil, these 2 scores can be directly promoted to an outer disciple. If others are not enough, you must challenge based on your own strength. Of course, those with high cultivation realm and bone age scores will definitely have an easier time than those with low scores. Those with low ratings need to win many games to have a chance. Those with high ratings may just need to win 1 game. It may seem unfair, but it actually gives great opportunities to those who are less talented. Chapter 84 Old Acquaintance Chen Shi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In this world of cultivation, talent itself is part of strength. Some people can't catch up with others in their whole life of cultivation. The reason is not other than their own lack of talent. Talent and age determine the potential and upper limit of a monk. Unless he is a truly late bloomer, without talent, he can only be a grain of sand in the long river of cultivation. Xiao Fan felt this the most deeply. If Zhou Tianxing Do 2 had not helped him cleanse his essence and improve his qualifications, it is estimated that he is still at the 2nd level of the body training realm and is what others call trash. The next day, early morning, when it came to the last test, the actual selection, everyone left the rest area under the leadership of the outer sect deacons and outer sect disciples. Arriving at the arena area of the outer sect, there were hundreds of outer sect disciples wearing blue robes standing around. The cultivation level exuded by each of them was above the 8th level of the Qi transformation realm. This is not a ring area in the traditional sense. It subverts everyone's understanding. There are many gasps after arriving here. Xiao Fan looked around, and there were dozens of huge arenas in front of him, all of which were paved with grey stone bricks. In the center of the many arenas, there was an even larger and more majestic main arena. Everyone looked around, even the direct descendants of the big family. Just when everyone was amazed, Xiao appeared at some point, floating in the air. The third strength test will begin at this place. Next, everyone's realm and bone age scores will be reported. Then 500 people will be divided into one arena to compete. The 20 people with the highest scores in each area can become the outer sect. Disciple. Each person can only challenge and be challenged 10 times. Each successful challenge will be given 5 points as a reward. No points will be deducted for the loser. The challenged person can voluntarily admit defeat. The third round lasts for 3 days. Those who have not used up all the challenge permissions will be deemed to have given up. Each arena will be co-hosted by 10 outer disciples. Those whose names are read will go to their respective arenas to gather. After saying that, Xiao's figure turned into a stream of light and left from the void. The remaining people looked at each other, and at this moment, 200 outer disciples came out, each with a jade slip in their hand, with each person's name recorded on it. These 200 disciples were chanting their names at the same time, and the voices were noisy. However, the people present were all monks, and their hearing was far better than ordinary people. They could still hear their names clearly in this environment. Li Dong, bone age and cultivation score are 8 points, arena number 6. Shan Yanghui, with a bone age and cultivation score of 9 points, in the third arena. Chen Shi, with a bone age and cultivation score of 9 points, in the second arena. Nangong Lingxian, her bone age and cultivation score are very. Number 1 arena. Xiao Fan, bone age and cultivation score are 9 points, arena number 4. In less than a moment, an outer disciple read Xiao Fan's name. The order in which the names are read is random and not based on the score. The arena he was assigned was arena number 4, but Zhu Gang was not with him and was assigned to arena number 16. Xiao Fan had just noticed the scores for the bone age and cultivation tests. Most of them were around 5 points, while Li Dong's score was 8, Shan Yanghui and Chen Shi scored the same 9 points as him. So far, the only person who has given 10 points is Nangong Lingxian. Xiao Fan came to this number 4 arena. 500 people stood together, and 10 outer disciples stood in front of them. Xiao Fan also discovered that Chen Shi was assigned to the 4th arena just like him. Seemingly noticing Xiao Fan's gaze, Chen Shi kept his head lowered and did not dare to look at him. People around Xiao Fan consciously kept a distance from him. This was a natural fear of the strong. Xiao Fan took a look around and found that among the 500 people, there was no one he knew except Chen Shi, and the strongest among these people is only at the 7th level of the Qi transformation realm. I see. Xiao Fan murmured, and he also understood the rules of Ji Xian sect's allocation of arenas. Geniuses with good talents and qualifications will not be arranged together. They will be evenly distributed in each arena individually. The purpose is to prevent these talented young talents from losing in actual combat. Moreover, his own score is higher than others. Even if he encounters an unbeatable opponent and gives up, and wins a few games, his final score can still reach the top 20. At this moment, one of the 10 outer sect disciples stood in front of him. Judging from his aura, his cultivation level was at the 9th level of Qi transformation realm. Apparently he was the captain of the 10-man team. Junior brothers, next is the final assessment for entering the outer disciples. I think some of you may feel it is unfair because everyone's current score is different, but this is the reality. Elder, he just said that the top 20 people with the highest final scores in each arena will become outer disciples. Then each person will have the right to challenge and be challenged 10 times. Okay, who comes first? This blue-robed outer disciple had a high-pitched voice and a condescending attitude. Just like a senior brother educating a junior brother, Xiao Fan said nothing and looked around. His rating was the highest among the people present, and he had an inherent advantage, and among these people, no one can be his opponent. I come, someone immediately responded. He hugged the blue-robed outer disciple, then jumped onto the ring. Lengsang said, I am at the 6th level of Qi transformation realm. Can any brother come and give me some advice? The 6th level of Qi transformation realm is not considered low among those who participated in this selection, but is considered to be above average. I come, after hearing this person's words, one person rushed forward. His cultivation was impressively at the 6th level of Qi transformation realm. The two sides hugged each other and started a duel. The duel started like this, and in less than half an hour, more than 20 matches were played. Xiao Fan has no interest in fighting at this level, and he has no intention of challenging anyone. Of course no one dared to challenge him. At this moment, Chen Shi came to an end. His cultivation had reached the 5th level of Qi transformation realm, which was much better than the previous mineral vein competition. The opponent was also a monk at the 5th level of Qi transformation realm. The two sides fought, and in the end Chen Shi narrowly won. He breathed a sigh of relief, looked around, and found Xiao Fan staring at him. He lowered his head suddenly, not daring to meet Xiao Fan's eyes. He had always intended to escape. Xiao Fan smiled. He was very curious as to why he met Chen Shi here. I come. Chen Shi's battle had just ended, and before he could step down, Xiao Fan dodged and jumped up. Seeing that Xiao Fan was on the stage, the 500 people in arena number 4 didn't even dare to breathe. How powerful this evil star is. Even if you have never seen it, you have heard of it. Moreover, one of the 3 people with a score of 9 is considered weak. Seeing Xiao Fan on stage, Chen Shi planned to run away, but it was too late. I want to challenge, Chen Shi. Chapter 85 Challenge the Outer Disciples. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing that Xiao Fan was about to challenge him, Chen Shi, who was about to step down, staggered and almost knelt on the ground. Even though I was hiding, I was still discovered by this evil star. Chen Shi turned away with a mournful face, showed a smile that was uglier than crying, and said to Xiao Fan, Xiao, brother Xiao, long time no see. Now that the other party has discovered the matter, it would be unjustifiable to hide and not acknowledge each other. Moreover, he knows how ruthlessly Xiao Fan can attack. I remember when I was beaten in the Elixirs mine, he held his head and begged for mercy. Xiao Fan looked at Chen Shi with his arms folded and a smile on his face. He didn't say anything, just looked at him. Chen Shi burst into tears and walked back to Xiao Fan. Brother Xiao, it turns out you are here too. What a coincidence. Brother Xiao, I just had a battle and am not strong enough. Can't it be okay if I abstain? Chen Shi was about to cry. He had no chance of winning against Xiao Fan. He even planned to give up directly. Otherwise, there would be no need to fight in the subsequent competition, and Xiao Fan would beat him half to death. You dare to abstain? Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows and said coldly, Come here, I'm just curious about why you are here. Chen Shi felt bitter after hearing Xiao Fan's words, but he did not dare to disobey and walked over honestly. When people around them saw this, they all understood what was going on. These two people must have known each other before. Why are you here? What is your relationship with Chen Feixing? Xiao Fan was curious. Both of them had the surname Chen. Could they be the same family? But it's not like that. Chen Feixing's Chen family is said to be powerful and a rare big family in Wuhuang Prefecture, while Chen Shi's Chen family is just an inconspicuous small family. Chen Shi shook his head and said with a bitter smile, Actually, our Chen family is a branch of the Chen family. We are not welcomed by the main line on weekdays, and we have not been in contact with the main line for many years. Chen Shi told his story. The Chen family he belonged to was a branch of the Chen family. This year, Chen Feixing is about to join the Supreme Immortal Sect. The Chen family wants to find a follower of the right age to go with them. However, the people in his direct lineage are either of high status and unwilling to come, or they do not have enough cultivation and are not old enough. In the end, they have no choice but to join him. They look for these offshoots. The final candidate chosen was Chen Shi. After hearing this, Xiao Fan nodded, finally understanding the cause and effect. Talking about this, Chen Shi's face became even more ugly. He was originally aloof and arrogant. He used to show off his power and domineering in the Chen family, but now he was sent here as a servant. It was strange that he was in a good mood. The two men were reminiscing about old times in the ring, which made most people around them dissatisfied. There are only 3 days, and especially for those with lower scores, every moment counts for them. However, it was Xiao Fan who was on the stage, so they could only dare to be angry but dare not speak out, and they all looked at the 10 outer disciples who were responsible for discipline. The expressions of the 10 outer disciples present were not good-looking, especially the leader. He felt that Xiao Fan was challenging his dignity at this moment. He said in a deep voice, "The competition in the ring is not a place for us to reminisce about old times. If you don't want to fight, get out. Come down." Hearing this, Xiao Fan frowned. He also felt that what he did was indeed wrong and wasted other people's time. He didn't say anything, but decided to settle it with Chen Shi. Chen Shi, on the other hand, had a wry smile on his face and clasped his fists. "Okay, senior brother. Fight with Xiao Fan. He is seeking death." Seeing that Xiao Fan still ignored him, the leading outer disciple said coldly, "Didn't you hear what I just said?" That he felt that Xiao Fan didn't salute him or open his mouth to respond to him. This was an insult to him. The first outer disciple spoke coldly again, "Boy, senior brother is asking you something. Are you deaf?" Xiao Fan slowly turned around and looked at the other person with cold eyes. After a moment, he said calmly, "Are you talking to me? It turns out you're not deaf. I thought you didn't hear it." The outer disciple sneered, "Since you're not deaf, let's compete quickly and get off the ring." The leader of the outer disciple had an arrogant attitude and did not take Xiao Fan seriously at all, even if he knew that Xiao Fan's score was 9 points and he was at the 7th level of Qi transformation realm. So what? Being able to become the team leader among 10 people proves that he is extraordinary, and his own strength is the 9th level of Qi transformation realm, which is 2 small realms higher than Xiao Fan. This is the disregard of the weak by the strong. "Then the deaf person you just said was me?" Xiao Fan asked coldly. His voice contained no emotion, making it impossible to tell whether he was joking or angry. The first outer disciple frowned. No entry disciple had ever dared to talk to him like this. "Yes, I'm talking about you." The surrounding atmosphere suddenly became weird, filled with the smell of gunpowder. The 500 young people participating in the selection looked at each other one by one, not even daring to take a breath. Chen Shi felt that the situation was very embarrassing, especially when he revealed that he knew Xiao Fan just now, and he was worried that he would be retaliated against. "Very good, you just said you were a senior brother, right?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Then I will admit defeat in this competition." Everyone around was stunned. Xiao Fan gave in. The strongest person in the 4th arena actually admitted defeat. Everyone knew that Chen Shi would never be Xiao Fan's opponent, but the other party actually admitted defeat. Xiao Fan, you gave up, then I win." Chen Shi stumbled, he didn't expect that he would win again. 5 points is nothing to Xiao Fan, but to him it is extremely important and determines whether he can join the extreme immortal sect. "Now that you've given up, get out of here quickly." The leading outer disciple frowned. He felt that Xiao Fan was slapping him in the face by admitting defeat. "I just asked the other party to compete quickly, but the other party gave in." However, Xiao Fan laughed again at this time. "Senior brother, I have admitted defeat in this competition, but I want to challenge the next person." "Challenge the next one?" The 500 people were all stunned, and secretly decided that if they were selected by this evil star, they would definitely give up. The leading outer disciple looked around, and then said calmly, "Since others have no objections, then you should hurry up and choose your next opponent." "Anyone here can choose?" Xiao Fan asked. "That's right, anyone here can choose anyone." "Very good." Xiao Fan smiled, looked at the leader of the outer disciples and said, "Then I will choose you to be my next opponent. Senior brother, come up." "What? Xiao Fan actually wants to challenge this outer disciple of the 9th level of Qi transformation realm." At this time, not to mention the 500 young people participating in the selection, even the remaining 9 outer disciples were stunned. Is this person afraid that he is crazy? "What are you talking about? If you have the guts, say it again." The face of the first outer disciple suddenly darkened, and he said coldly, "Boy, I think you want to die." "Haha. I just said I wanted to challenge you. As for whether I am seeking death, you don't need to remind me." Xiao Fan spoke with an indifferent expression. "Court death," that this first outer disciple jumped directly onto the ring. Chapter 86 Strong Suppression. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Boy, I have been in Zhoutian sect for 5 years, and I have never seen anyone as arrogant as you," that the outer disciple was furious. He could not tolerate being provoked like this by a young man who had not yet started. A person whose cultivation level is less than Tongtian realm has a lifespan of no more than 100 years. Therefore, in the extreme immortal sect, even if he becomes an outer disciple, he cannot be promoted to an inner disciple if his cultivation level does not improve for a long time. They will also be assigned by the sect to take care of some properties outside the G immortal sect, or they will leave the sect. Therefore, outer disciples are generally not very old. "You just said that I can challenge anyone present. Did I hear it wrong?" Xiao Fan spoke calmly, and there was no hint of any nervousness on his part. Before he came to Zhoutian sect, he originally thought about keeping a low profile, but as soon as he came, he beat Li Dong violently and fought with Shan Yanghui. Immediately afterwards, the breakthrough caused great commotion. This series of events has demonstrated his extraordinariness, so there is no point in hiding anymore. In this case, it is better to show your own value and let the sect value you more. After all, this was one of the reasons why he came to Zhoutian sect, to show his worth. Let the Zhoutian sect protect you. At least if someone comes to Piaomiao Immortal Palace, Zhoutian sect will not hand him over. "Boy, if that's the case, let me teach you how to be a good person," that the leader of the outer sect disciple said coldly. His figure was like thunder, and he rushed towards Xiao Fan in a flash. His momentum increased sharply, and his 9th level cultivation in the Qi transformation realm caused the surrounding ground to shake. "Well done." Xiao Fan sneered, and the momentum around him surged, like a tiger coming out of its cage, and the momentum he displayed was not even half weaker than the opponent's. You must know that his cultivation level is only at the 7th level of Qi transformation realm. The other party is 2 levels higher than him. This outer disciple was certainly not stupid. When Xiao Fan approached him, he naturally felt that the opponent was not weak. Without any carelessness, he immediately took action with all his strength. The two sides fought together, and everyone was dazzled. The 500 young people participating in the selection were dumbfounded. I knew that Xiao Fan was a fierce man and was known as the Evil Star, but I didn't expect that he would be so cruel and directly fight against the outer disciples of organizational discipline, and it didn't fall behind at all. The remaining 9 outer disciples were all even more surprised. They were all familiar with each other. They even knew how strong Zhao Ming was when he fought against Xiao Fan. The opponent showed no mercy at all at this time, but Xiao Fan on the opposite side had no intention of falling behind, and even suppressed Zhao Ming faintly. There was a lot of movement in arena number 4, which alarmed many people around. "I'll go, that's Xiao Fan, the person he fought with, blue robe. He's an outer disciple. Holy crap, why did he get into a fight with an outer disciple, and it looks like the other disciple is pretty powerful. This Evil Star is crazy." That everyone who noticed this scene was shocked. The only outer sect disciples present at this time were these disciplined disciples, and no one else. They were not curious as to why Xiao Fan conflicted with them. What's curious is that Xiao Fan is so powerful. "My dear, big brother is so fierce." From a distance, Zhu Gang saw Xiao Fan dueling with the opponent, and he also sighed sincerely. Li Dong looked gloomy and cursed secretly. "Quickly, kill him, kill Xiao Fan." The venue for the fight was arena number 4, which was closest to number 1, number 2, and number 3. Nangong Lingxian, Chen Shi, Shan Yanghui and other geniuses could see it clearly. Shan Yanghui's expression changed slightly. Xiao Fan showed stronger strength, and looking at the other party's relaxed expression, it was clear that he still had some strength left. There was a hint of brilliance in Nangong Lingxian's beautiful eyes, but there was no change in the cold and pretty face, and no one noticed it. Chen Feixing's eyes were bright and he watched silently Zhao Ming, who was fighting. Xiao Fan at this time became more and more frightened. The opponent was obviously at the 7th level of the Qi transformation realm, but his strength was not weaker than him. Even above him, he tried various ways to attack, but was unable to defeat the opponent. Damn! The outer disciple's eyes were cold and he stepped back. When he patted his storage bag, a long sword, a mysterious magic weapon, appeared in his hand. Qifeng's sword, senior brother Xiao actually took out his own magical weapon. Some outer disciples exclaimed that they had been dumbfounded for a long time. Although Xian-level magic weapons are precious, they can be exchanged for them by virtue of meritorious deeds when entering the extreme immortal sect, and this Qifeng sword was what Zhao Ming had earned after accumulating merit for several years. This shows how far Zhao Ming was pushed by Xiao Fan. "Boy, you forced me," Zhao Ming shouted loudly, with a fierce look in his eyes. To deal with a disciple who had not yet started, he actually forced him to take out a mysterious magic weapon. His face has been lost, he must not lose this battle. Seeing this scene, the other people in the ring area who were still fighting around them all looked sideways, even those who were further away. Xian-level magic weapon. That must be a Xian-level magic weapon. My dear, this evil star has met his match. As an outer sect disciple with a high cultivation level of 2 levels, you still use a mysterious magic weapon, which is despicable. It's so shameless to use a mysterious magic weapon against the enemy. Discussions suddenly broke out, and everyone spoke up for Xiao Fan. On the one hand, it is because they are both uninitiated disciples, and also because the other party uses a mysterious level magic weapon, which is unfair to Xiao Fan. The other party is obviously 2 small realms higher in cultivation, but he still takes out a mysterious level magic weapon. Everyone knows how important a mysterious magic weapon is. Xiao Fan's expression did not change at all, and the outer disciple surnamed Xiao across from him rushed forward with the Qifeng sword. At this time, Xiao Fan sighed lightly, patted the storage bag, and an extremely sharp spear appeared in his hand. Coiling Dragon Spear. It's also a mysterious magic weapon. Bang bang bang! The guns and swords collided together, and a huge sound was heard, shaking the ground all around. Xian-level magic weapon. That spear is also a Xian-level magic weapon. Someone recognized the coiling dragon spear in Xiao Fan's hand at a glance. It was also a Xian-level magic weapon. What? You actually have a mysterious magic weapon? Impossible. This is impossible. Who are you? Zhao Ming's face was full of shock. He didn't expect that a disciple who had not yet joined the Zhoutian sect would have a mysterious magic weapon on his body. When did everyone have a Xian-level magic weapon? In fact, no one would have thought that in addition to the dragon gun, Xiao Fan also had a mysterious long sword, but it was the magic weapon of Piaomiao Immortal Palace, so he didn't plan to take it out easily. Damn! Zhao Ming used all his strength, roared with the Qifeng sword in his hand, and attacked continuously. However, all the attacks were resolved by Xiao Fan without hurting the opponent at all. Senior brother, you are a bit weak. Xiao Fan smiled faintly, and after finishing his words, his eyes suddenly became as sharp as an eagle's eye, and his aura surged, becoming 3 points stronger than before. The coiled dragon gun in his hand flashed with silver light and buzz whizzed into the air and stabbed. A strong force of wind was shot out, heading towards Zhao Ming. What? The gang foam was approaching in a blink of an eye. Zhao Ming quickly blocked it with the Qifeng sword. He did not expect that Xiao Fan would be so powerful. Boom! The Qifeng sword blocked the strong wind, and Zhao Ming's figure retreated dozens of meters before slowly stopping. However, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, Xiao Fan was already standing in front of him with the coiling dragon spear in his hand, and suddenly dropped it towards him. Chapter 87 Outer Disciple Ranking Competition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The coiling dragon spear pierced through the air, aiming at Zhao Ming's neck. At this time, the latter has no power to parry at all. With this spear thrust, Zhao Ming will undoubtedly die. Stop! Then at this moment a loud and majestic voice came out. It was He Yutang. Xiao Fan stood in front of Zhao Ming with the coiling dragon spear in one hand. At this time, the tip of the spear was less than half an inch away from Zhao Ming's neck. Zhao Ming's face was pale with no blood at all. He was so frightened that he was covered in cold sweat. He didn't even dare to move. Xiao Fan slowly took back the coiling dragon spear in his hand, and Zhao Ming breathed a sigh of relief. A feeling of fear surged through his body, causing him to sit on the ground. At that moment, he clearly felt that death was very close to him, only half an inch missing. However, Zhao Ming regretted it after sitting on the ground. He then remembered that he was in the fourth arena at this time. It's over. Zhao Ming saw all kinds of mocking and sarcastic looks around him. He jumped up and looked at Xiao Fan fiercely. He hated Xiao Fan deeply in his heart, but he didn't dare to provoke him now. After all, strength does not allow it. You. Zhao Ming was very angry and wanted to leave some threatening words, but in the end he didn't dare to say it. Instead, he said viciously, I am the person who is ordered to manage the order of the scene, and you actually, if you dare to attack me and break the rules, your hands and feet will be cut off, you will be beaten into a cripple and then expelled. Xiao Fan looked at Zhao Ming calmly, with a calm expression on his face, not taking the other person seriously at all. At this time, He Yutong's voice came out from the void. The competition here is to select entry-level disciples, and outer disciples are not allowed to participate. The competition continues. With just one light word, the matter is over. Zhao Ming was confused. He felt miserable, but He Yutong said so what could he do? Everyone around was stunned. No one expected Xiao Fan to be so strong. Zhao Ming was at the 9th level of the Qi transformation realm. How could he win like this? And among the 10,000 selected disciples present, most of them were surprised only because of the strength Xiao Fan showed. The outer disciples were surprised by He Yutong's attitude. They, the outer disciples, are sent here to organize discipline, that is, to act according to orders. Although I don't know why the two of them got into the ring, it was revealed in such an understatement. This kind of thing is extremely rare. Zhao Ming was not convinced, but He Yutong had said so. He was a small outer disciple, not even a deacon, so he did not dare to resist, so he turned around and got off the ring. Xiao Fan cupped his fists in the air and saluted, then left the ring in a flash. The people in arena number 4 looked at Xiao Fan as if he were a monster, and they are even more determined about one thing, that is, if Xiao Fan challenges any of them, they will definitely abstain. Chen Shi was even more stunned when he saw the fight just now. Xiao Fan was able to defeat a monk at the 9th level of Qi transformation just a short time before the elixir mine. Terrible, at least he already has the strength of a small family head. Zhao Ming was defeated by a disciple who had not yet started. His face was burning and he felt ashamed. So he found an excuse and left the 4th arena, leaving all matters here to other outer disciples to handle. The brief battle here ended, and the discussions and competition began again in various venues. Nangong Lingxian, Chen Feixing, Shan Yanghui and other talented people have all shown extraordinary strength, and they can crush their opponents whenever they take action. At the same time, in a peach blossom garden a few miles away from the outer gate competition arena, He Yutong was playing chess with an old man. The old man had snow-white hair and a kind face, looking at the chessboard with a smile. This guy's name is Xiao Fan. He's not bad. He's very talented. The old man smiled lightly and took a sip from the teacup beside him. He Yutong nodded noncommittally and said, on the road to cultivation, talent is only one aspect. Saying this can be regarded as a disguised recognition of Xiao Fan's talent. The white-haired old man said with a smile, why, are you interested in taking him into your sect? After hearing this, He Yutong did not speak immediately. After thinking for a moment, he slowly said, still investigating. The white-haired old man laughed. I didn't expect that this little doll would actually fall into your eyes. TSK. Just send someone to investigate his background to prevent any trouble. I heard before that he is a son-in-law. I am a little curious. Can such a good young man become a son-in-law? He Yutong did not speak and agreed with what the white-haired old man said. The day passed quickly, but there was no rest in all the arenas. The 3 days He Yutong said were 3 days and 3 nights. The handyman disciples in grey robes came twice today and prepared food for everyone. Xiao Fan was not in a hurry to play. He was not in a hurry. If you don't count the times he challenged Zhao Ming, he still had 9 chances to play. The results of the other matches were as expected. The geniuses in each arena had never lost, and no one would take the initiative to challenge them. Xiao Fan feels that the selection method of Zhoutian sect is very clever. Those with good talent will stay, and those with high strength and potential will also stay. Time flies, and the last day is here in a blink of an eye. On the last day, Xiao Fan came on stage, and he randomly selected 9 people to compete. But the result was that everyone who received Xiao Fan's challenge unanimously admitted defeat. This is a real evil star, no one dares to offend. Chen Shi didn't know if it was because of Xiao Fan. No one challenged him in 3 days, and he specifically challenged some people who were weaker than him, and finally ranked 18th to be promoted to an outer disciple. The third assessment is over. All those who were promoted to outer disciples gathered on the main stage, a total of 500 people. The remaining 9,500 people can choose to become menial disciples, wait for the subsequent menial disciple selection, or leave the sect. Xiao also appeared on the last day. He stood on the stage with a majestic look, looking at the 500 promoted outer disciples and nodded with satisfaction, especially looking at Xiao Fan's eyes, deliberately staying for a while. Among them, Nangong Lingxian, Shan Yanghui, Chen Feixing, Li Dong, and a group of family direct descendants were all promoted without exception. Among them, Zhu Gang also successfully promoted to an outer disciple by virtue of his own shrewdness. According to what he said, he went on the field first to directly challenge those who were weaker than him, without any embarrassment, and scored first. You did a good job, congratulations on becoming outer disciples. Next there will be a ranking competition specifically for those who became outer disciples this time. Finally, the sect will give different rewards based on each person's ranking. Among them, the top 100 will be rewarded with 10 contribution points. The top 50 will be rewarded with 20 contribution points. The top 20 will be rewarded with 30 contribution points. The top 10 will be rewarded with a Xian level technique from the library, and 30 contribution points. The top 3 will be rewarded with a Xian level technique from the library, 30 contribution points, and a separate cultivation cave. The first place will be rewarded with a lower grade earth level technique from the library, 50 contribution points, and a separate cultivation cave. Xiao's words made everyone around him gasp. The eyes of the 500 people were shining. Earth level technique. Cultivation cave. Chapter 88 Breaking the Fourth Star. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Needless to say how precious the earth level cultivation technique is. There are only a handful of them in the entire Wuhuang prefecture, and a cave where one can practice and live alone is even more precious, especially in a treasure land rich in spiritual energy like Zhoutian sect. Suddenly, the eyes of the 500 people all gleamed, and even Nangong Lingxian, the darling girl of heaven who was as cold as a fairy, had a look of longing in her eyes. The selection and ranking competition will start in 3 days. You can have a good rest recently. After explaining this, Xiao's figure disappeared in front of everyone like a stream of light. Among these people, geniuses such as Xiao Fan, Nangong Lingxian, Chen Feixing, etc. advanced with overwhelming force within 3 days of competition, so they did not consume much of themselves. However, most of the remaining outer sect disciples who had just been promoted had spent a lot of time in these 3 days, and some of them were seriously injured and needed to be nursed back to health. At the end of the 3-day competition, the 9,500 people in the audience looked at Xiao Fan and other successfully promoted outer disciples with complicated eyes. These looks include envy, jealousy, unwillingness. These people were eventually led away by a group of blue-robed outer disciples. Those who are willing to stay will be assigned to do odd jobs throughout the Zhoutian sect. Those who are unwilling to stay will leave Zhoutian sect, although Xiao Fan and others have already entered. They have not yet been provided with accommodation. During these 3 days, they are still living in the place where they lived before. Back in the number 9 courtyard, Zhu Gang looked excited and boasted to Xiao Fan. Brother, you don't know, there is a genius in our arena who is very powerful. He didn't like it and challenged me. At that time, I just surrendered without saying anything. It caused a lot of ridicule from all around. But how did they know that I was a weak person? And then I took the opportunity to come on stage and challenge all kinds of people who were weaker than me, and finally entered the top 20. Xiao Fan was speechless after listening to the little fat man's words. He knew this guy was shameless, but he didn't expect him to be so shameless. "Brother, you must be in the top 3 this time. The cave provided by Zhoutian sect is of great use." The little fat man said to Xiao Fan, "Every time there is a selection, various rewards will be given. Needless to say, the first place in the earth-level kung fu is extremely precious. And that cave is of great use for future cultivation, and its internal spiritual power is several times higher than other places. After entering Zhoutian sect, if there is no suitable cave for cultivation, the progress will definitely be delayed by others." Xiao Fan listened carefully to what little fat Zhu Gang told him. For a large sect like Zhoutian sect, the place chosen to open the sect must be a blessed place rich in spiritual energy. Various caves with rich spiritual power will be opened up. The spiritual power in these caves has been strong for a long time. It is of great benefit to one's own cultivation. According to Zhu Gang's introduction, even if you don't practice inside, your own cultivation will increase just by sleeping. Although this statement is a bit exaggerated, it still shows the importance of a good cave. "Brother, there are actually not many caves in Zhoutian sect. Even most of the deacons don't have this kind of treatment. The purpose of Zhoutian sect is to cultivate outstanding successors. So, we need to be at least in the top 3 this time." After hearing this, Xiao Fan nodded seriously, "I will try my best." Zhu Gang told these things just to remind Xiao Fan of the importance of the cave. He was afraid that Xiao Fan was unclear and would not exert his full strength during the competition and lose this opportunity. It would not be an exaggeration to say that Xiao Fan was life-saving to him. The next day, Xiao Fan was sitting cross-legged in the small courtyard number 9, divine consciousness entered the star map. "At the 7th level of Qi transformation realm, my cultivation has been consolidated." Xiao Fan murmured, his eyes flashed, and a huge star floated in front of him. He has completed the first 2 parts of the 9 transformations of Qi transformation technique, and now he is strong enough to try to blast away the 4th star. Xiao Fan was surrounded by terrible pressure, his momentum was rising steadily, and the ground in the star map shook. "Ah!" Xiao Fan shouted loudly, and the golden light of the Liuhe slash in his right hand flashed. He jumped up and struck his strongest blow so far. The golden palm pierces the 4th star. Boom! The golden light in his right hand was strong, and less than 3 breaths after it came into contact with the stars, the 4th star collapsed, and the treasure inside was revealed with dazzling golden light. Xiao Fan was breathing heavily, his forehead was covered with sweat, and his face was full of joy. He strode forward and couldn't wait to check the magic weapon contained in the 4th star. The remaining skills of the 9 transformations of Qi transformation are enough to cultivate to the great perfection of Qi transformation realm. There are at least hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones piled up at a glance, and the spiritual energy inside these spiritual stones is much richer than the spiritual stones outside, making it impossible to compare. There are also countless spiritual herbs and elixirs piled up in mountains. Although Xiao Fan had been prepared before, he still gasped in excitement. Every time a star is broken, such a rich treasure is given. I wonder if I will get heaven-level skills in the future. Thinking of this, Xiao Fan was very excited. What is the heaven-level technique? It is not certain whether the entire Wuhuang prefecture exists. For most people in Wuhuangzu, the heavenly level cultivation technique is just a legend, and no one has ever seen it with their own eyes. Kyushu is vast and boundless, and Wuhuangzu is too poor compared to other legendary continents. After obtaining the remaining 9 transformation techniques of Qi transformation, Xiao Fan started to check them without any further ado. The 9 transformations of Qi transformation is an earth level technique. Although it is low grade, it is still extremely precious. Although Xiao Fan didn't know how big the entire 9 provinces were, he believed that the earth-level techniques in the Qi transformation realm must be the best even in those continents. Sitting cross-legged, Xiao Fan grabbed the spirit stones with his left and right hands and a star diagram and started practicing. He had also taken a lot of spiritual herbs and elixirs that enhanced his spiritual power before. The speed of cultivation is extremely fast. In a blink of an eye, it was the day of selection and ranking. Xiao Fan, Nangong Lingxian, Chen Feixing, Shan Yanghui and other talented people, as well as the remaining 500 people, were standing on the main stage of the outer arena area. Although participation in this trial was voluntary, most people chose to participate, and only a few did not come. Even if I know that I am not strong enough, I still plan to give it a try. Even Zhu Gang, Chen Shi, and people who were not as strong as them came to participate and wanted to try their luck. He Yutong stood in front of everyone, and he was not the only one this time. There were 3 powerful elders standing beside him, including an old man with black hair, and a middle-aged woman with a delicate posture. The person standing at the front was an old man with white hair and a friendly smile. He looked around Xiao Fan and others with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. Very good, everything is good. I am Su Yongnian, the sect leader of the outer sect of Zhoutian sect. Chapter 89 Chen Shi vs Zhu Gang. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. The white-haired old man looked around with a smile. Everyone, including Xiao Fan, was surprised. The amiable old man in front of him turned out to be the sect leader of the outer sect of Zhoutian sect. Zhoutian sect is divided into 2 parts, the inner sect and the outer sect. The old man in front of him is the most powerful person in the outer sect. As for his cultivation level, Xiao Fan and others could not find out. In their opinion, the old man in front of them was more like an ordinary old man than a monk, because they couldn't feel any spiritual energy fluctuations from the old man at all. Okay, I've finished introducing myself. Please come and get to know the mentoring elders from the outer sections. The old man said with a kind face. The elders behind him stood up one after another. The first one to speak was He Yutong. He looked majestic, tall, and said in a deep voice, I am He Yutong. You all know me these days. I am in charge of teaching martial arts. After He Yutong, the black-haired old man walked out with a serious look on his face and said in a cold voice, Jiang Yushan, in charge of alchemy. His expression was very arrogant from beginning to end, with his head raised so high that you could even see his nostrils. It seems that he is more sect leader than the outer sect leader Su Yongnian. However, after hearing that the other party was in charge of the alchemy lineage, everyone suddenly realized that the alchemist always had this attitude no matter where he was. It had nothing to do with his cultivation level, and it all depended on his true ability. Then it was the turn of the charming woman. With a smile on her face, she opened her mouth and said with a smile, My name is Shi, and I am in charge of a formation. The line of formations is as awe-inspiring as alchemy, and the formations can be mastered flexibly. In addition to arranging some extremely powerful defensive formations, you can also arrange offensive formations, spirit-gathering formations, confusion formations, and many other formations. Most monks have some understanding of formations, but most of them are only at the entry level. A truly powerful formation master can easily deploy extremely powerful formations, and it is easy to cross borders and fight against enemies. After these 2 people, a skinny middle-aged man came out. His presence was very low and his appearance was very ordinary. He looked around and whispered, Chao Mu, in charge of the weapon refining lineage. The line of weapon refining has a long history, and its status is the same as that of an alchemist. It is highly respected no matter where it is. Now the magic weapon in Xiao Fan's hand is a finished product. Although it is not bad, it is not specially made for him after all. Tailor-made magical instruments are too important for monks. After the 4 people introduced themselves, the sect leader Su Yongnian said with a smile, These 4 are the teaching elders in charge of the outer sect. Classes will be held regularly in the future. If you are interested, you can go there and study. These leaders will also watch your competition later. If you are lucky enough to be valued by them and be accepted as their disciple, your future will be bright. Okay, let's start the competition. This time is different from before. It will be conducted entirely by drawing lots. It will be held in 3 venues at the same time. Anyone who loses once will be disqualified. Sect leader Su Yongnian smiled, then looked back at He Yutong, who nodded and walked forward in 2 steps. I will still host the next competition. Everyone will write their names on the slips of paper, and those whose names are read will come to the stage. He Yutong's voice was loud, and he patted the storage bag on his waist, and 500 sets of paper and pens appeared in it and flew into everyone's hands. After Xiao Fan and others finished writing their names, an outer disciple wearing a blue robe came over, took the notes away, and finally placed them in a wooden box. He Yutong pointed his finger, and a beam of light shot towards the wooden box, and suddenly there was a bang and bang collision sound inside the wooden box. In an instant, 6 pieces of paper flew out of the wooden box and floated into He Yutong's hands. Jin Yuan Kai, Yang Hong. Lu Huan, Fang Mengzhu. With a flick of his finger, the 6 people for the first duel were selected. The 6 people each arrived at the ring and began to duel. Half of the people are eliminated at the end of each round. In the next round, there are barely 100 people left. Xiao Fan muttered to himself, this kind of competition is actually very fast, it is a complete elimination system, and it gets faster towards the back. The competitions began, and after half a quarter of an hour, Xiao Fan's name was read. He leapt up and jumped onto the ring. Xiao Fan's opponent is a young man at the 6th level of the Qi transformation realm. His own cultivation is not weak at his age. His bone age and realm score are 7 points, but when he saw that his opponent was Xiao Fan, his face was indescribably ugly, as if he had eaten a dead rat, but since he was selected, he could only grit his teeth and fight Xiao Fan. The result was obvious. In less than 3 moves, he was defeated and kicked out by Xiao Fan. No one was surprised by this result. After all, although Xiao Fan was at the 7th level of the Qi transformation realm, he had defeated Zhao Ming, an outer disciple at the 9th level of the Qi transformation realm. The first round of competitions unfolded one after another. Nangong Lingxian, Chen Shi, Shan Yanghui and others did not meet, and when they met their opponents, they all failed miserably. They didn't meet, but there were talented children from other big families who met. They were both geniuses from different big families. Each other does their best to rank higher and get better rewards. The fighting was also very fierce. Zhu Gang also came on stage, and Xiao Fan was stunned by his opponent. He was not a genius from any major family, but he met Chen Shi. Both of them have similar cultivation levels. Both are at the 5th level of Qi transformation realm. Xiao Fan was very excited to watch the fight between the two sides, even more excited than watching Nangong Lingxian and others take action. The two of them had stern expressions on each other's faces, and they both regarded each other as a strong enemy. If they were to face a monk whose strength was far superior to theirs, Xiao Fan believed that based on their personalities, they would most likely admit defeat. Chen Shi. Zhu Gang. The two introduced each other with fists clasped, and as soon as they finished speaking, they rushed forward like lightning and attacked with all their strength. Everyone who saw it was shocked, thinking that although the strength of these two people was not high, their fighting spirit was very high. However, Xiao Fan in the audience knew very well that these two people probably had the same idea. They took advantage of the other party's inattention to plot against the other party. Chen Shi punched Zhu Gang, and Zhu Gang kicked Chen Shi. The fight between the two sides was very exciting, and there were very few people watching. Although there was not a lot of momentum, Xiao Fan enjoyed watching it. In addition to him, there was another genius watching the competition between the two. This person was Chen Shi. In the end, Zhu Gang defeated his opponent with a sneak attack on Chen Shi's lower body at a critical moment. In addition, his level was higher than that of Chen Shi. Chen Shi's face was full of reluctance. He covered his crotch with his hands, and his eyes shed tears. Not many people paid attention to the fight between the two, and even fewer people saw this scene in their eyes. However, both Xiao Fan and Chen Shi looked at Zhu Gang a little strangely. I thought this fat man was too insidious. 2 hours later, the first elimination round ended, leaving only more than 200 people. The wooden box flashed, and the opponent for the second battle began to be selected. Xiao Fan, Li Dong. Chapter 90. Poor Li Dong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Fan, Li Dong. That when the voice came out, Xiao Fan was stunned. He didn't expect that his next opponent would be Li Dong. Li Dong's heart clicked. Let him fight with Xiao Fan. He had never fought with the opponent when he was in the 6th level of Qi transformation realm. Now that the opponent has reached the 7th level of Qi transformation realm, why should he fight? Xiao Fan looked at Li Dong, smiled, and jumped up to the ring. It would be good to teach Li Dong a lesson here. Li Dong's face was livid. He wanted to refuse to go on stage, but he was a genius of the Li family and had the strength to be in the top 10 of the selected disciples. If he avoided fighting and surrendered directly, then he would be embarrassed by his Li family. In the end, Li Dong gritted his teeth and rushed to the ring, but he had made up his mind that if he was not an opponent, he would surrender immediately. The people around the stage saw that it was Xiao Fan and Li Dong fighting, which immediately caused a lot of heated discussions. "Look, it's Li Dong and Xiao Fan." Li Dong was beaten by Xiao Fan in the number 9 courtyard before. "Yes, I saw it too. Li Dong was beaten like a dead dog at that time." "Oh my God, is this a fateful duel?" After hearing what these people said, Li Dong's face turned pale and red. How could he be Xiao Fan's opponent? Finally, he gritted his teeth and said to Xiao Fan, "Xiao Fan, I am from the Li family. My second brother Li Qishui has reached the Tongtian realm and is an inner disciple of the Jixin sect." Xiao Fan was stunned and asked in confusion, "What do you mean by this?" That he couldn't understand. Did Li Dong think that he would be scared by his self-introduction? I want to say, give me some face later. Don't be too harsh." Li Dong's voice was very low, as if it was squeezed out from the crack of his throat. No one except Xiao Fan could hear it clearly. Xiao Fan was stunned. He never dreamed that Li Dong would say such a thing. Let him show mercy. Be gentle. Xiao Fan sneered and looked at Li Dong with an idiotic look. "Based on what you said, I will spare your life." What? Li Dong felt that he was already humble enough, and he just wanted the other party to be gentle, but Xiao Fan on the opposite side said to spare his life. However, before Li Dong could continue to say anything, Xiao Fan's figure had flashed in front of him. The two were in the same realm, both were in the 7th level of Qi transformation, but the strength of Li Dong and Xiao Fan was far different. Before Li Dong was ready, he was hit twice in the abdomen by Xiao Fan in an instant, and he immediately spit out blood from his mouth and his face turned red. There was no power to resist at all. Xiao Fan was about to attack, and Li Dong also reacted at this time, and hurriedly raised his arm to resist. However, when his forearm collided with Xiao Fan's fist, he heard a crack. The forearm in front of him was directly broken by Xiao Fan. Li Dong took a breath. Severe pain and strong fear surged into his heart. Cold sweat instantly covered his body. "I surrender." Li Dong was about to admit defeat. Kidding, now the two of them are not in the same realm. Why should he fight? If the fight continues, he suspects that Xiao Fan can tear him apart. However, before he could say the last word, Xiao Fan's eyes flashed coldly, and his right hand quickly slapped Li Dong in the face. Li Dong was hit by this slap, and stars appeared in his eyes, and 2 of his back teeth were knocked out. He couldn't say all the words he wanted to say. However, this slap was just the beginning. Less than half a breath later, Li Dong felt that the other side of his face was slapped by the same huge force. 2 more teeth flew out of the other half of his face. Li Dong was full of regret at this time. If he had known this result, why did he provoke this evil star? He now desperately wanted to shout surrender and admit defeat. However, Xiao Fan did not give him this opportunity at all. Every time Li Dong was about to speak, Xiao Fan either slapped him or punched him. He aimed at Li Dong's mouth. At this time, Li Dong's mouth was bloody, and only one front tooth was still there. The rest of the teeth were knocked out by Xiao Fan. Hiss. The surroundings were constantly sucking in cold air, and everyone was paying attention to this battle. After all, Xiao Fan and Li Dong were both powerful, and they also had old grudges against each other. Originally, everyone thought that even if Li Dong was not Xiao Fan's opponent, he could at least hold on for a while, but who could have thought that it would be like this? Li Dong was simply being abused. "I swear, I would rather die than provoke this evil star." In the crowd, a Tianjiao who participated in the selection spoke up. This sentence also represented the voice of everyone. The outer disciples in blue robes also sucked in cold air when they saw the competition between the two. They had never seen such a ferocious new disciple. Not only was the attack brutal, but the sect master and a group of outer sect elders were here. The sect master Su Yongnian, He Yutang, Jiang Yushan, Shi Ji and others all had very strange expressions. At this time, Li Dong was almost unconscious and couldn't even stand steadily. He wanted to fall to the ground and admit defeat, but Xiao Fan didn't give him the chance. He grabbed Li Dong's neck with one hand and slapped him hard on the face with the other hand. The latter screamed. After a while, the fight is still going on, but Li Dong has been passively being beaten. Ahem, could this doll be too harsh? Su Yongnian coughed dryly and looked at He Yutang. He Yutang nodded, that's a bit cruel. He also thought that Xiao Fan was too cruel, and Li Dong, who was facing him, was still half human at this time. Then why don't you stop it? He Yutang suddenly realized that this was what the sect master meant. He thought he should pay attention to Xiao Fan's character. After all, he had previously revealed his intention to accept Xiao Fan as his disciple. He almost forgot that he was the one hosting this competition. Stop. Hearing He Yutang's voice, Xiao Fan stopped and Li Dong fell to the ground like mud. He Yutang glanced at Xiao Fan and said, Xiao Fan wins this competition. Then he looked at Li Dong, who was no longer human, lying on the ground like mud. There was a little guilt in his eyes. When they heard that the competition was over, people in the audience hurriedly rushed to the ring and helped Li Dong down, who was like a dead dog. This man is one of Li Dong's 4 followers. All 4 of them also participated in a selection of outer disciples, but only one became an outer disciple, and the remaining 3 became servant disciples. Xiao Fan spread his hands. Although Li Dong spurted a lot of blood just now, it didn't splash on him at all. Immaculately dressed in white robe, after getting off the ring, everyone looked at Xiao Fan as if they were looking at a monster. Although I knew before that this person should not be easily provoked, but I never imagined that he would hold such a grudge. Ahem, the competition continues. He Yutang coughed dryly and continued reading.